take you to go take your photos, sketch, come back to the office, organize everything, figure out where everything is, and then put it into Xactimate. Well, tonight we're going to talk about a huge time-saving piece of tech that you're going to really enjoy. I have Tomer here from Matterport. So hello, Tomer. Glad you're here with us tonight.
Yeah, glad to be with you. And hello to all the viewers live and on the recorded session. Yeah, very happy to be with you here from San Francisco. Matterport headquarters is actually Sunnyvale, but we also have a satellite office here in the city. Offices in Chicago and in the UK. Wow. So while I tell you guys a little bit about Matterport, maybe as an overview, I know that Alina provided a few links to some Matterport models. You have their severe fire damage home, as well as a home that was hit by Harvey, both kind of pre-mitigation. As I tell you a little bit about the background of Matterport and then dive into how we're used in restoration, and then specifically within Xactimate workflows, I think it'd be useful for you to kind of self-navigate. And you'll notice this is a regular URL, and that's pretty much how easy it is to share a Matterport model, just sending a link and anyone can open it. Awesome. Of course, there are private ways to share it without a URL. But this is the most common one. And I think another thing that you'll notice is how easy it is to navigate through the loss, to walk around. You can click that little box looking icon in the bottom left-hand corner and you'll get to see what we call our dollhouse view. Dollhouse gives you kind of an ability to see the loss in its entirety in a 3D model. And I think that's helped a lot of our users. Feel free to zoom in on anything. You'll notice that the severe fire damage home is actually, mostly boarded up and very dark, but you'll see how well this looks within a Matterport model when people apply LED lights on our cameras. As Alina's walking through these models, and you guys can do so with the links provided, I'll tell you a little bit about the background of Matterport. So we are a venture-backed startup out of the Valley, started around 2011, but really began selling our cameras around 2014, with the initial application primarily being real estate marketing. This was picked up by realtors. Today, over 30,000 realtors in the US use it. Over 7% of US listings are sold using Matterport. You can see us on platforms like Redfin, apartments.com, CoStar, realtor.com. So a lot of the major real estate platforms have implemented Matterport 3D tours, and more continue to do so in the US and around the world. We're in over 100 countries today. And we also have a service provider network. So that's people who have bought a Matterport camera and offer scans as a service in every major city in the US, over 3,000 of them. So, full coverage of the entire continental US and around the world.
Awesome.
Just, I guess, a little more background. In around mid-2016, I came into the company as the first kind of BD lead into taking Matterport 3D into new markets. Our initial markets were the travel and hospitality segments, as well as the architecture, engineering, and construction segments. Today, in AEC, which is the field that I led, architecture, engineering, construction, we're used by over 300 of the top 400 general contractors, some of the major architecture firms, big names like Gensler, HKI, and more using us. And then really only about 12, 13 months ago went into the insurance space. It's actually where I met Alina at When the Storm. That was the first conference I'd ever gone to.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Cool. For insurance.
That was the first one. And ever since, probably have been to another 6 or 7. But really, Matterport has, over the past 6-7 months, really honed in on this industry and realized the value that we're providing. We're onboarding over 100 contractors a month at this point, and last February scanned roughly 3,000 losses, our customers. And that's up from about 150 when I met you at Twin to Start.
Yeah, that's huge.
Pretty crazy growth. That was, I guess, almost a bit more than a year and 2 weeks maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So quite a lot of growth in the sector. And if it's okay with you, Alina, we'll go into the presentation and I'll show a few slides just to guide my my talk here today.
Absolutely. Let me go into the slides here one moment. All right, so we're at the first slide. It says Matterport for restoration and insurance.
Yeah. So if you scroll down, you'll see that, and we've looked at a model, so we can skip that one. But basically, you've all seen True 3D now. Congratulations. So what does Matterport do? And this is kind of very much a feature high-level overview. So number one, it's a comprehensive loss documentation tool, right? No more missing any imagery, no more capturing poor imagery, no more line items rejected because there was no supporting imagery, no more going back on site because you missed a certain picture. So this is the comprehensive loss documentation tool.
And I've heard people having to deal with content. It's been huge for them because they, this was there, it wasn't over there. It's been amazing. So I don't know if you've heard that feedback, but
yeah, and that's really it. I mean, and I'll go into workflows, but when people scan kind of a pre-mitigation, post-mitigation, and then post-reconstruction, if they're doing that, they're really able to not only get all the structural damage documented, but also all the contents, any pre-existing damage to contents, right? So you can avoid those breakage claims afterwards.
Yes.
But also for the, like as you say, the pack-in and pack-out process, knowing where things were and where you need to put them back. Is also proving quite useful. And then secondly, this eliminate measuring. And when I say eliminate measuring, you're not only eliminating field measuring, you're eliminating paper sketching and digitizing that. There's basically Matterport can provide, and I'll go in a little deeper later, basically a floor plan with every scan that's created, with all the rooms and all the measurements of all the rooms. All the floors separated into a floor plan that you can bring into Xactimate. And you can do this as an underlay image and basically trace over. There's a 2-minute YouTube video showing how to do that. It's actually very simple. Xact will ask you to trace over one measurement. You'll input that measurement, and then it will scale the floor plan. So all you need to do is basically trace over. But that method does leave some room for some manual work. And we also have a turnkey solution. It's still in beta, but we've delivered over 350 sketches successfully. And we're going to take it out of beta quite soon. And we deliver a full Xactimate sketch. Our regular floor plans are $15. Our full Xactimate sketch ranges between $100 and $600, and that depends on the square footage and level of detail. We have 2 tiers of True Sketch. That's our full sketch solution. True Sketch and True Sketch Plus. True Sketch, the big difference is that True Sketch will give default properties for basically wall thickness, missing wall types and heights, door heights and types, window types and heights. And True Sketch Plus will deliver all those dimensions to scale. Also ceiling height and ceiling types. But True Sketch Plus will deliver all of those as built. So most of our customers prefer the Plus, but sometimes True Sketch, in about 20% of cases, True Sketch. So kind of a few options for you of working with Matterport and Xactimate.
Awesome.
And I'll say even on the Xactimate front, for the first bullet point of the comprehensive loss documentation, while you receive from Matterport a model, you're also able within our workshop area to extract JPEG imagery. We have a screenshot tool, but unlike a screenshot that will take a shot of whatever's on your screen at minimal resolution, this is a screenshot tool that will allow you to download at 4K resolution JPEGs, and you can attach those to the claim as well.
Cool. That's excellent. Yeah, because it's so important for them to document and follow up with, damage, miss, or what have you. They need to extract those photos. So excellent.
Yeah. And I'll go over the claim kind of filing process that we've seen with our customers in a bit. But, while it is important to have that 3D model that you could share with anyone, ultimately Xactimate will want, still images until we're able to interact with Exact in a more meaningful way. You're still going to have to extract those images directly from Matterport. But that's a very simple thing to do. It's a very simple tool that we've built for that.
Excellent. Yeah, I've seen it be so complicated to pull some stuff out of some apps and different things. So I'm glad that you had that pain point and made it easy for these people, because that can be
we've seen some tools use video, but those videos are very, you pretty much, to extract images for a video, you have to watch an hour-long video of documenting a site, and this tool makes it a lot easier to do that.
That's awesome.
So the instant sharing on any device, the third bullet point there, that's crucial because, basically Matterport, as you saw and how easy it was for me to share a link with Alina, and now you're all walking around it, that's kind of the instant functionality that Matterport has, with allowing anyone to be on site within seconds of receiving the link and feel like they're actually there. That's actually our tagline, Matterport Be There. And the reason we've done that is that that's what we allow people to do, to be there in an instant. And the multi-device is important because this thing opens very well on a phone, on a screen, on a tablet, even on VR. We're automatically VR compatible. So if anybody has a Google Cardboard, Oculus Go, Daydream, Gear VR, any of these cool little devices that range from $5 all the way to $200, you're able to walk around a loss in VR. And while that's not prevalent today, I definitely personally I'm a futurist, and I see adjusters walking around your losses 3-4 years from now just in VR and tagging and measuring things as they go. And I think finally a very important bullet point as that's enabled us really to scale in this market really fast is how easy it is to use and how hard it is to really screw it up. Ultimately, regardless of who's doing this, and this can be your average field technician, it could be your estimator, your project manager, anybody wielding the Matterport Pro camera will ultimately go through a very easy and kind of foolproof workflow in capturing a loss. And that's regardless if they're capturing a single room, a mansion, 50,000 square foot commercial space. The process is essentially the same. Press the scan button, move out of the way, move the camera 5 to 8 feet, look at the iPad, see what was scanned now, and kind of see the blank areas where you need to fill in by moving the camera and completing the floor plan on your iPad. And what I described there, that's pretty much enough for you guys watching this to take a Matterport Pro camera to the field and start scanning. Now there are nuances, and we do provide training, and you can, it's free, it's included, and anybody can log into this. You could sign up your entire company, every field technician, and you could do it multiple times. And we provide, YouTube videos and things like that. But ultimately, at the core, this is what's needed to scan. You watch the training and you get better and you'll get faster, but you'll ultimately produce consistent results with Pro 2.
What's an average time? Let's say it's like, like a 1,500 square foot house. I mean, do you have an average per room, or what would you say to people once they get used to the tech?
Yeah, so it really ranges quite broadly based on if you were talking about, I'll say on one end, pre-pack out, fire damage, things all over the floor, hard to level the tripod, moving through the place is difficult, lots of different hidden areas. If it's a tighter space, more hallways, more bathrooms, smaller rooms, right? 2,000 square feet could be 4 rooms, could be 8.
Correct.
Right? So,
that's perfect.
Yeah, so if it's 8 rooms and there's more hallways, there's less line of sight. All the way at the low end, I'd say 1,000, 1,500 square feet is the slowest we've seen people go. But post pack out, gutted home, no furniture, we've seen people move as fast as 4,000, even 4,500 square feet an hour.
Nice.
I'd say the average is around 2,000, 2,500 is what we see most people scanning. That's why we like to say most homes in under an hour is roughly what captures it. Commercial, by the way, is a lot faster. If you're scanning commercial spaces, there's less rooms, larger kind of floor plans, more line of sight, usually less hallways, smaller rooms like bathrooms, which take up a lot of time per square foot. Then commercial, we'll see speeds of even 7, sometimes 10,000 square feet an hour.
Awesome. That's really cool. So thanks for going into that, because that was a question I've heard a lot too. Do you want to take questions as we go through this, or would you rather do like a Q&A at the end?
Yeah, I'm happy to take questions as we go along.
Okay, they're wondering if it's available in Canada. I have an audience in Canada.
Yes, we sell directly to Canada. If you contact one of our salespeople here, I've got a few great people on my team. They'll help you process that, and
Cool.
You'll have my contact details at the end of the film, at the end of the shooting. But feel free to contact us, and we'll let you know how to do that. We also have reseller in Canada, so if that is simpler for you, that's also available.
Cool. I just, let them know in case they had to jet and we hadn't gotten to their question. But cool. Excellent. All right. So go ahead. That's pretty,
Sure.
Pretty much answered all the rest of the questions, but that one.
Sure. No problem.
All right.
If you want to click and go to the next slide. So basically what I wanted to cover here was kind of the things that are less obvious, because when I say full documentation, you guys know the value of that. I say eliminate sketching, obvious value there. Right, sharing is easy to understand, and an easy to use tool is something you need. But I'll share with you a little feedback from our customers where they kind of really got their ROI on Matterport. So I'll start off with something less obvious, but something that a lot of our customers come back to us very early and say, hey, where I got 4x ROI on one job on the entire camera investment? Well, I showed this to an adjuster, and he now sends me more jobs. I showed this to an agent and offered even to scan the homes of his insured, especially high net worth, to cover and kind of get a pre-damage scan. And now he's sent me more jobs because he knows the level of documentation I sent.
Wow.
People have told us they've gone to property managers of commercial spaces that I'll scan this hospital, I'll scan this school. And that way, not only have they built inroads kind of with that customer. Now they also have a pre-damage scan, so it's very beneficial to that property manager or building owner to go to them as restoration contractors to ultimately handle any loss. Now that they've got the all the contents and the structure documented in pre-loss conditions.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so lots of sales and BD kind of aspects there. Besides the fact that people have put this on their website, and I think I even have a slide later, people show kind of a before and after scan so people can see the quality of their reconstruction work. People see how meticulous they are in their mitigation work when they've scanned kind of a post-mitigation with all their equipment laid out, explaining on different equipment and if you want to, we're actually going to release some best practices, people scanning and annotating their models and actually in the tags putting in high resolution imagery, links to the equipment and manufacturing equipment, dry reports, all that within the model. So we're seeing some great ways for people to show the quality of the work they do. So it's definitely it's one of the things that people report back the fastest to us, how this has helped their sales.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great points, and I love all that. I was just talking to someone the other day. He's like, "Yeah, what if we use that Matterport for an HOA?" I was like, "Oh, that's an awesome idea." So people can see that vision. That's amazing. That's more opportunities for sure.
The adjusters, I do a lot of my work is actually evangelizing Matterport on the carrier side, because we're more and more we're seeing carriers and adjusters, actually paying for this, and I can tell you a little bit how people are charging for it in exact. But that's been a big part of my role is going around and evangelizing this to adjusters. And I can tell you that everyone from field adjusters to chief claims officers that I've talked to at home office, have all easily realized the value of this, and they are very excited to be receiving this kind of documentation on losses they work on. So moving on to operations, I think those are kind of the obvious ones, is the fact that, hey, I'm spending less time sketching. Hey, the person doing the scanning and documentation is not my estimator. Now it's my field technician. And that's obviously a lot more efficient operationally.
Yeah.
I think something that people see less is the fact that they eliminate the windshield time of their kind of top performers, estimators, and those guys are able to review scopes remotely, right? So they're actually increasing scope accuracy while decreasing the hours that these higher paid staff members are on the road or revisiting a site, right? So you're getting lots of efficiency right there. But I've also heard operational efficiency around the ability to solve disputes faster, with adjusters, and just the ability to just streamline decisions, operational decisions, send something, directly to the owner of the company. And when there is any kind of deliberation on the course of action that should be taken. I've heard people tell me that they didn't need to schedule site visits with, possibly pack out guys or, contents restorers, when they were able to just send them the pre-mitigation scan and get a bid from all these subcontractors, right? So this, not only allows you to move faster, but ultimately reduces the headache that's involved with, site visits and additional site visits of property owners that might have to come down for this. So we've seen a lot of operational efficiencies around there. I'll touch also, I'll touch also progress payments and claim cycle speed. I touched it a little bit, but ultimately when you streamline these decisions, you ultimately reduce cycle time. And that's been big for the carriers that I've talked to. I think that one of the cool things about reducing claim cycle time is that it's a win-win for literally every stakeholder involved in the claim, from the subs to the mitigation and reconstruction contractors, to the carriers, to the IAs involved, and definitely to the policyholders who can go back home faster.
Oh yeah, totally. That's amazing.
That's been a very big kind of win-win for the industry using Matterport.
Cool.
And I think that where that comes into effect financially for a lot of contractors is that they're able to send these kind of progress scans that they're doing, especially on larger losses, which some of the payments are structured in a way that you get paid incrementally for work being done. So being able to share the work done incrementally has been big on just getting people paid faster. And this goes from the beginning of the claim all the way down to the reinspection or the mortgage company inspection that sometimes can hold up payments for 2-3 weeks. And now you're able to send the mortgage inspector a finished scan of the finished job, and they're able to release the check a lot faster.
That's awesome.
So it's helped with that kind of cycle speed and payment progress quite a lot. And then finally, I touched on this a little bit, but disputes. Disputes are, and it's dispute between contractor and adjuster, and disputes between contractor and policyholder. Contractor and adjuster, obviously, around any line items that may not have had adequate documentation to receive payment for. Which often cause back and forth and a lot of heartache. I've had customers tell me that you're basically sitting on your phone, adjuster on the line, looking at the claim on their computer, and you're literally walking through the entire scope, and they're able to see it right there and then. And it's sometimes even helped adjusters not arrive on site at all. Right, for a lot of, especially the smaller claims, people have just gotten these settled over the phone with the adjuster walking through. So that's been great. And then the other area, which I've had several contractors. I was in DC last week for the Sedgwick Repair Conference, and I had 3 of our customers on 3 occasions step up to me and tell me, Tomer, I got my ROI on the camera on a single job where a policyholder claimed that I broke, scratched, dented a piece of furniture that was worth over $10,000, and I was able to go into the scan and show them that damage existed as soon as I came in.
Wow.
So for them, it's and it's not only when the policyholder is wrong; it's also when they're right. Right. Ultimately, this tool that helps you prevent disputes and move right along. Not only does it shorten the cycle, but it also it also just removes a lot of the heartache that's involved in these disputes often. That could lead to bad customer reviews, and that could lead to generally just lost revenue on paying for breakage that you didn't do.
It limits your liability for sure if you're looking to cover
exactly.
yourself.
I mean, people have often referred to this as the ultimate cover your ass tool.
There you go. Well said. There you go.
There
All
you
right,
go.
cool. Yeah. So we have a couple more questions that are pretty cool. Low light conditions, power outage, or no available light sources. How would you overcome that? What can you do in that situation?
So I like to separate it into low light and no light conditions. Low light, Matterport does very well. It has an HDR, built-in HDR, high dynamic range, which allows us to, even when things look very, very dark to the naked eye, they will look as broad as day to the camera.
Oh, cool.
And no light conditions is also not an issue. There you will need to be assisted by LEDs. We have some recommendations on our sites. They mount onto the camera.
Okay.
They're $36 on Amazon. You get them a $5 3M sticker mount, and then you're able to kind of pop it on and off the camera when needed.
Cool.
People often put this as part of their hard case, and they'll get these LEDs, sometimes 1, sometimes 2 for larger commercial spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're able to scan just the same with assisted lighting. And I've seen a lot of people, I think one of the scans that I sent over, the severe fire damage one, has some pretty dark rooms, and you could walk around.
It did. Yeah, you're right. It did.
And see just how crystal clear you see everything.
Awesome. And then I'm assuming it runs off battery, right? So when you go and plug in the wall, you've got battery power, independent.
I mean, it's a battery. So the camera itself is battery operated, and it's rechargeable. Usually gives between 8 and 10 hours of life. So that's long enough for, I went over the speeds earlier on. So obviously you could see that for, even 8 hours in residential, you'll never get there, but it's, hopefully for you do, but it's, 20,000 square foot residence. Then you're able to scan that in one go with our camera. And then the LEDs, I believe they have 1 or 2 hours of battery life, and they're also rechargeable. We have some battery, disposable battery options as well. But what people do is often have 2, and then one is charging and the other is being used if you need more than 2 hours of scanning, right? And in most cases you won't. Right. But if you do, that's usually the workflow that we recommend.
Perfect. Yes, that was an awesome answer to that question for sure. I think that covered it for Daryl there. Graham says, what about ceilings and bulkheads? How is it going to capture, like, if you have a bulkhead there that might be, you're in the middle of the room and you're trying to get around it, and how does it do with ceilings?
Yeah, so I mean, the camera scans at 270 by 360, right? So it's got a little cone, basically, of a blind spot right above it, but this is more of a visual blind spot. It's not going to matter for the 3D, because as you move to the next spot over, it's going to capture the 3D and the visual right where you were standing earlier. So the 3D model is complete floor and ceiling. And if you do want to see something that's right above you, then move over to the next point, waypoint, and look where you were standing previously.
Perfect.
Right? So that's how you treat kind of blind spots. But yeah, you're able to get, floor plan, our floor plans at 99% plus accuracy. And we actually also produce ceiling plans. We've been asked that for carriers doing inspections. risk engineering. They want to see kind of the layout of all the sprinklers and carbon monoxide. So we produce that automatically as well.
Excellent. Yep, that totally covers Graham's question. Thank you for that. Cool. All right.
Yeah, so here you can see, and I'll just like kind of briefly go over these slides because they go into a little more detail on everything I've discussed, but you can see how people do before and after scans, and they're able to show that both to policyholders, send that to the carriers. Carriers really like the after shots as well. Also usually prevents reinspection, which is a big pain point for carriers, needing to kind of see the quality of the work that was done. Yeah, and next slide, you'll see, we talked a little bit about the operational efficiency, both in terms of remote viewing, remote estimating, remote scope review, generating the sketch automatically, so not wasting any time on site with that. And it's ultimately, because it's an unbiased source of truth, it just speeds up every conversation with an adjuster.
Yep, that's awesome. And like you said, just to reiterate, if anybody's just joined, if you want to get it into Xactimate, you can either get the 2D floor plan that you can import from Underlay, or they have in beta where you can actually just straight import the whole sketch and you don't have to sketch a thing. We had a huge Harvey loss. It was a $3.4 million home, curved staircases, all this craziness, and we really could have used that at that time. It was very hard on us to do that work. So I think that's something that people are looking forward to. So just
I was in a show and I was talking to the folks at ATI, and they were telling me they used this on a large loss in San Diego in a Hotel del Coronado, the Hilton over there. And this was a multi-million-dollar loss, and it brought down their sketch work, as they said it, from a week to an hour.
Wow.
So for them, that was, lots and lots of time savings, not only on, actual hours that they would have had to pay people to sketch, but, just the ability to move things forward, and just skip over a week of work on such a large loss, and such a large loss that ultimately, for commercial properties like a hotel, every day that they're experiencing this loss is lost revenue.
Correct.
Right? So you're able to deliver something to your customer that is extremely valuable, which is, in this case, it was the pool and some of the and an upper floor was leaking and kind of caused the entire kind of lobby and entrance. And so obviously a very horrible situation to be in for any commercial space, but especially hotels and especially high-end hotels. So that kind of speed definitely gets you a lot of cachet with customers.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yep, thanks for sharing that. That's a good point too, especially commercial. This is just huge. It's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'm going to go to the next slide.
Yeah, so we talked about reducing payments, and obviously with a mortgage, ultimately eliminate, and this is just a generality, just a lot of the bottlenecks that are involved with people coming on site. People inspecting, people releasing payment, they're just all solved when you're able to give anybody eyes in the field in an instant.
Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah, and disputes, we talked a little bit about policyholder disputes and adjuster disputes, but ultimately, I like to look at this quote from Mike Davis at All American Cleaning. And ultimately, he sees this as a communication platform. And if you looked at our Harvey scan, you saw those little tags and annotations. You're basically able to pinpoint anything you want to communicate about any aspect of the loss with anybody looking at this model through these tags. So what he sees here is more than a sketching tool, more than a documentation tool. It's a communication platform.
Yeah.
He gives this example on a specific argument over measurements of a cabinet, that maybe they didn't take the measurements of the cabinetry in the first place, and now there's an image and an adjuster is looking at it and says that's not 15 feet. They just go right into the tool. I didn't actually mention this, but besides giving floor plans and sketches, we also have a measuring tool that literally allows you to walk around these models as you guys were walking around these models that I sent earlier, and just measure anything that you see. right? You
Cool.
can measure the baseboards, you can measure door opening, you can measure how far the electricity socket is from the floor, the base of a fireplace, anything that you want to measure, you could do it ad hoc, right? So this guy is literally on the phone with an adjuster. The guy says that the adjuster says that it's not 15 feet. He goes into the software, stretches a ruler, and says, "Hey, I didn't make this software, right? This thing doesn't lie. Look, it's 15 linear feet."
That's awesome.
So it just has an ability to streamroll over any kind of disputes that have to do with measurement or severity of damage.
And it's really awesome when you get a third party, uninterested party involved, such as, this technology. Like you said, it's like, it is what it is. I didn't come up with this. I'm not making the camera lie here. It's an extra third party, extra layer of showing, what's actually happening. And I think that's amazing. Can get in.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I actually met with the folks over at Xactimate, some of the founders there, the Lovelands, and they made an equivalency of what Xactimate did around pricing, which was ultimately level the playing field and say, instead of us going back and forth and arguing over what the right price for this, here is software that takes all the averages and all the prices per region and solves any dispute over replacement cost. So just in the same manner that Xactimate did that, as kind of an uninterested third party that's objective and is just going to give you the facts on how much things cost in a region, and that ultimately helps these two parties in the negotiation and settlement process. That's what Matterport does. We're an uninterested, unbiased source of truth that will not lie on imagery or measurements. Yep. Definitely not in anyone's favor. And that is, ultimately another tool to the way I see it, build trust between contractor and adjuster.
That's a good point too.
So, ultimately, I feel like when an adjuster can trust the documentation and the measurements more, everything is a lot easier. They know that there is no, the way one contractor put it to me, this thing will ultimately, contractors who have something to hide, right, who are trying to cut corners and are trying to exaggerate their scopes or their sketches, this is not a good tool for them. And same thing with adjusters who are trying to, lowball on the claim. So ultimately what this does is tell both sides of the claim, both the adjuster and contractor, hey, here is, my honest work. And the other side is able to trust that
absolutely
blindly.
Love that.
So that's a positive effect, I think, a net positive that we've had on the industry.
Yep, that's so cool. Yep, love that. That's a beautiful thing. Here we go. A couple more questions coming in. Exterior measurements. I saw like a 360 of the exterior of the home, but I've got roofing contractors and exterior people in my group. Are you ever going to offer a whole package where you do the drone flag and everything? I mean. Cool.
So ultimately, like, we don't necessarily want to get into the drone or if you've heard of Hover, this app that through a phone is able to get you through a technology called photogrammetry, and mix in some artificial intelligence in there, and they're able to get you all the sidings and roof. There's just a lot of competition in the exterior.
Okay, I see.
Right? From drones to aerial imagery, from geomnies to eagle views. For us, it's ultimately going to be about taking their data and integrating that data into our viewer, that if somebody does a drone flight or a hover scan or gets an eagle view report or whatnot, they're able to, any adjuster looking at this will able to see it in the same viewer as Matterport. Okay. So they have kind of a single source of view. Not there yet, definitely an area that we're going to. But I can tell you that on that front, we've integrated two kind of, and I think actually, let's go to the slide on that, because I think I have a perfect slide for that. Here, you can actually skip to the next one even.
Okay.
So basically what we've done and to answer your exteriors question, you look at the Leica BLK 360 over there on the right. That's actually, and Alina, actually, if you feel free to press that example icon there, it should pop up a model that was done with a BLK 360. And what you'll see here, and in the dollhouse view, you're seeing this is a totally exterior model, right?
Oh, yeah.
It was captured of a very large exterior space, and that was captured with a BLK. It uses a different kind of technology, sensor technology called LiDAR.
Yeah.
And LiDAR is able to capture outside where our structured light cannot. So if you pop back out to the presentation, what I'll show you is that, while the BLK is amazing and can do outdoors, it costs $18,000.
Yes, it does.
Right? There is rental options, right? So people have often said, look, I don't need to have this very expensive piece of equipment, but if it rents out at $300 a day and I'm doing a very large loss and somebody wants all the exteriors and interior mapped out with Matterport, documented and mapped out, might be worth a rental. And if it's a very large loss, you're probably able to expense it to that loss, because if this is documentation, as I said before, that adjusters and carriers in general are very happy to receive and pay for.
Yep.
So the other aspect of it is it's slower, right? It's 3.5 minute spins versus our 18-second spins with a Matterport camera. So you're going to move slower, you're going to pay more, but you're going to be able to capture outdoors. And one big advantage, if you're ultimately submitting these scans for architects and looking to create CAD files from it, and you require higher accuracy, then this device is able to get you 4 millimeters at 10 meters, right?
Wow.
So very, very accurate measurements. And like I said, it rents out. So sometimes if needed, and it will cost the same as scanning with Matterport in terms of our software. So ultimately, you'll have your pro camera, and then suddenly you'll be in a situation where you're doing $1 million loss on a commercial space where you want very high accuracy and outdoors, and you could go and rent a BLK for a day or two.
Awesome.
And then the other aspect, we went over our pro and all its pros. Sorry for the pun. And what I wanted to actually look at is our 360 camera. This is pretty exciting. And Alana, you could press the example link there, Lena, sorry, and you'll see that, this looks very similar to what you guys just saw in Matterport, right? It's a 3D model. But if you go into the model, you'll see that, while the walking around is, pretty much the same, you'll also see that if you zoom in and kind of scroll in on any location, you'll see that the imagery is a little more grainy, right?
Yes.
1K resolution, right? So that's one big difference with our 360 capture, is that it's not going to give you the same visual resolution as our Pro. And I think more importantly, it's not going to give you the same accuracy, right? We're at 8% margin of error with our Ricoh and Insta360 supported scans. That's the 2 camera platforms that we're able to scan with Matterport into. And we don't provide any floor plans or sketches with this device. It's not going to get you those sketches. It's not going to do low light or no light as well. It's not going to get you the same visual resolution. You're not going to be able to see a scratch in a cabinet if a policyholder claims that you scratched it, right? So it's not going to give you those benefits. But where we have seen this picked up quite rapidly in restoration is for low severity claims, single room damage, where you're not going to use our floor plan anyway because you could sketch it on site in a few minutes, or it's very easy to sketch on site and the sketch is not complicated, so you're probably not going to use our measurement tools anyway. And it's low severity, so you don't need that 4K resolution necessarily. But you still want to scan, as many of our customers do, all of your claims with Matterport, right? You still don't want to miss anything. You still want that easy to share link with the adjuster. Some customers have even told us that having this on low severity claims is even more beneficial because this is something that will prevent an adjuster from ever coming on site if it's low severity. The other aspect where we've seen it used is on post mitigation and post reconstruction scans, kind of progress scans, where You don't necessarily need the measurements or floor plans because you've already extracted those from your pre-mitigation scan. And you just want that visual progress kind of scan to send around and to keep for your own records and possible litigation. I actually failed to mention this, but Matterport's been used in litigation thousands of times. It's a very, very court-friendly document. I was actually telling Alina that one of our largest segments is actually the forensic engineer segment, where fire investigators are using this. And for them, Matterport's primary use is its use in forensic photography for litigation, right? So it's an extremely good kind of court-friendly piece of evidence.
Cool.
Back to our 360. It's extremely valuable to have this documentation for progress. A big advantage in the 360s is obviously that they cost $350 to $500. It's versus our roughly $3,000 Pro 2.
Right.
It's a tenth of the price. It's also much faster, right? So you're able to move at sometimes even up to 10,000 square feet an hour because it's literally hold it over your head, snap with your phone, hit the scan button, and keep moving. So no getting out of the way, no 18 seconds to wait for the data to transfer to the iPad. You're literally just clicking and moving. So you're able to capture, if we say a room is 2.5 minutes with a Pro camera, we're talking about 15 to 20 seconds with a 360 camera.
Interesting.
So big advantage on price, big advantage on speed, but disadvantages on accuracy, image resolution, and lighting performance. What we like to think of it is kind of with this entire tool set, you're able to do any job that you're currently at. BLK for those high accuracy requirements, outdoor shots, Pro for almost anything, and then 360s for low severity or kind of progress post reconstruction scans.
Excellent. Now back to the 360. Can you extract a photo if needed, or is it not have that?
Yeah, same functionality as the Pro. You'll be able to annotate. You'll be able to take snapshots, and you'll also have use of the measuring tool that I talked about, right? The ruler, the virtual ruler that you can measure anything in the space. It's just that virtual ruler is going to be an 8% maximum error and not 1% that you
got it. Okay. That makes sense. So still a lot of capability there. I can still see it better than just like having to point and shoot everything and try to get all angles. And awesome.
we sent out 5 of them to kind of top customers just to beta test before we even released it. All 5 have implemented it in their organization, right? So for me, that was like, hey guys, check this out. Tell me if 360 cameras have any use in restoration. All of them initially said, no, I want the accuracy, I want this. And now they've said, look, I still want, and I'm actually buying more Pro units because I need that for all the pre-mitigation work that I do and large losses. But before I was only scanning 30-40% of my claims with Matterport, just things over $10,000, just things over $5,000. Now I scan all of my claims. My techies all have 360s, at least on every team. So there's never any possibility of a van being on a site without the ability to conduct a Matterport scan. And they have, their novice estimators with a Pro units, their expert estimators back in the office reviewing scope and writing claims. So it's we've talked to some customers that have fundamentally changed their entire operations and how they estimate, scope, and sketch.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, very cool. Interesting. And that 360 is like the newest one that you have, or it seemed like it was one of the...
Yeah. We support Ricoh, Japanese company, and Insta360, Chinese company, both kind of the top manufacturers of 360 cameras today around the world. And we'll continue supporting these units as they come out with new hardware.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Very nice. I had some questions, but my phone is freaking out. Sorry. Okay, I'll try to pull the questions back up again. Let's just keep going.
Yeah, sure. So I'm not going to go into the usage and how to do it. It's happy to send that video along later, and maybe we'll touch a little bit on the price and what it costs to get all this good stuff.
All right.
So as I said, Matterport Pro 2 unit retails at $3,000. We have volume discounts. We have customers with over 50 of them in their operation today. 360 cameras cost roughly $350. We also have a discount there when you buy it on the Ricoh site or the Insta site. So you can probably knock another $20, $30 off those. And after you get the camera, basically all that's needed is our software. The camera is kind of useless without the software that lets you process models, store them, edit them, share them, annotate them, and take snapshots, take measurements. All that stuff is included in our software packages. And those, just like phone packages, are kind of, the more minutes you buy, the cheaper it is per minute. So same here, we have our $50 plan, and that'll get you 3 processed models a month. $100 plan, that'll get you 7 models a month. $150 will get you 11. If you're fast at math, you'll see that 50 is roughly $17 a processed job. 100 is roughly, 7 scans for 100, roughly 15. And then you're getting into, or roughly 16, and then you're getting into kind of 14 point something for 150 and 11 models. And a model can be anywhere from a bathroom to a giant mansion, right? The only time where we'll count it as 2 is if you have over 100 scan points in the model. At that point, that's 5,000 square foot house or 20,000 square foot commercial space. We found that most of our customers are okay for us charging 2 models when they're doing a job that's $5,000 square foot loss.
Yeah.
You're most likely okay with that extra $15. So that's that, and like I said, that will cover hosting, processing, tagging, editing, sharing. What that doesn't cover is the floor plans I talked about. Right, okay. Those are extra. You don't have to order them. Right, customers order them mostly for pre-mitigation scans, but then you don't have to order it again when you're doing post-mit or post-recon. And you don't have to order it for pre-mit if you're doing a very small loss, and you could sketch it yourself, right? So those are not included, both the sketches and the floor plans. Those, as I said before, $15 for the floor plans, and the sketches vary based on square footage.
Right.
So that's not included. But otherwise, you'll need some accessories: tripod, hard case. We work with an iPhone or iPad, so hopefully.
That was one of the questions. Yeah, was what's the best operating system, and then having the camera.
I like the iPad Pro to operate, but I definitely wouldn't go investing in an iPad Pro necessarily. We do have a lot of customers that say, look, I'm just going to get an iPad, put it in the hard case of the camera, and that way, someone doesn't take it on site, but now I've got an operator with an Android and they can't use it, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of people like to have kind of dedicated, that's the word I was looking for, thank you, a dedicated iPad for operation of the camera. Cool. But that's an option.
Excellent. So no Android, just with the Apple iOS.
Yeah, and that's just on the capturing, right? Viewing any device.
Right. Okay. Great. Yeah. Good clarification on that. That's great. Okay. Yeah. I think that's awesome. You're answering most of the questions just as you're talking, so that's cool.
Great. Yeah. Anything else that anyone watching us live has?
Let's see here. Let me get back. I'm going to quit sharing my screen and get back to you, so we can just go ahead and chat here. Mm-hmm. All righty, there we go. Okay, so in terms of carriers, have you had any integration interest with FEMA's NFIP program for flood? Did you have any interaction with them at all? That's a good question.
So, on the FEMA front, we have some customers that are actually scanning for kind of damage assessments for FEMA. No direct communication there. But a lot of interest that some of the people that I've talked to on the FEMA side, but no, nothing planned. Happy to take suggestions for things that I should be pursuing there. And then on the carrier side, for sure. We've talked to over 30 carriers that we've sat down with and met. A lot of NDAs on most of those interactions, but I can tell you that the general gist is, they love the content, They are looking for ways to, we've had some carriers ask us for a list of contractors using Matterport, right? So they want to get engaged in direct repair programs with. We've had, managed repair programs look at ways to incentivize contractors to use Matterport because it makes their life easier on the quality assurance, but also it makes it, it's a good value proposition to the carriers they serve. We've had carriers look at actually deploying this themselves with field adjusters because they want it for every scan, every claim that they're on. So we've definitely seen that. And I'd say on the carrier front, the uses go beyond claims, right? For them, it's also on the underwriting side. So the risk engineering and inspection side. I think one cool thing that happens when you join Matterport, you're also able to become a service partner, which means that we could send you leads, right? We get people going and looking for scans all the time, people wanting to scan their restaurant, to put on their website, realtors primarily looking to scan listings, and then more and more carriers looking to scan, commercial property instead of sending a risk engineer. So we're getting quite a lot of demand on our platform for scans for customers that don't necessarily want to buy a camera. And it's very easy for contractors, and we've had dozens join our service provider program and basically are able to, in their off hours, it's not emergency work usually. So they're able to, in the off hours, they already have a van with a camera and a low-cost employee out in the field, just deploy them to a realtor and do 45-minute scan, make $200, right? So, and that's, roughly people are charging anywhere from $150 to $300 on residential scans. Commercial is even higher.
Cool.
So it's just a nice source of side business for a lot of our customers.
You're answering the questions like as they're rolling in. It's really funny. It's amazing.
I've done this a few times, so.
I think so. Cool. All right. This is amazing. I think you've covered pretty much everybody. But APR Restore wants to know what's the name of a Canadian reseller. So where can they go to answer those, kinds of questions? Do you have an email address you want me to share with them? A web address? What's best?
Yeah, so if you want to write down my email address, put it up on the screen. It's T, like Tango, P, ORAN at Matterport.com. And anybody can reach out to me, or just insurance at Matterport.com. That also works. That'll get to my team as well. Any question you have around resellers, how to buy, where to buy, when to buy, how much to buy, our team is very consultative, right? So we will ask, how many claims you do, what the severity of claims, just because we've seen a lot of operations already. And we're able to say, okay, well, if this is your scan volume, this is your geographic territory, number of offices, percentage of large loss, and questions like that will ultimately guide us to say, 2 cameras, 2 pro cameras, 3 Ricoh Theta 360s, and a software plan of $150 a month to cover your type of operation.
Awesome.
Right, so we're able to give that advice on a per customer basis. So definitely give us a call.
Perfect. Yep, we'll definitely be emailing you. And then if you want that PDF that I was showing on my screen as we went through this tonight, go ahead and just message me here on Facebook, and I can just send that as an attachment. Facebook has funny privacy policies. So if you just reach out to me directly or email Tomer and get with him, then we'll get that PDF to you for the information maybe you need to show your boss or something like that.
Great.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Well, I was glad to be on. Thank you so much for inviting me on, Alina. I was always happy to share what we're doing.
Absolutely. You've got really cool things coming down the pike with that sketch, the True Sketch coming on and other things. So super exciting to touch base.
By the way, anybody who joins, that's an open beta, right? So anybody can join it and get it tomorrow.
Awesome. Okay. So don't let that scare you. It is available, ready to go. So It sounds like you sold a couple people just tonight. So I'm super excited to have you on. And I know it's such a great tool for anyone needing to properly document loss, because that's where most contractors lose their money, is they can't properly document. So that's something I pound all the time. So so great to have you here. Thank you for your time. And we'll reach out with any questions. They'll just be emailing you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. We'll see ya.